welcome to your favorite bookish podcast, Fully Booked and Caffeinated. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kelsey.
And today's episode, we are discussing the psychological drama The Push by Ashley Audrain. I did not look up how to pronounce her last name.
I think it might be Audrain.
I think it is Audrain, because if I'm doing it phonetically, it's Audrain.
Yeah.
So, Ashley Audrain, if that is not your name, I'm so sorry. It's fine.
Just go with Ashley. Imagine it's like Ashley.
We're saying her first name wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, she's Canadian, so I don't know. It can't be.
I don't know the French way to say Ashley, so all right, we're gonna embarrass ourselves. Let's move on.
Anyways, what are you drinking today?
Well, right now I have water,
Same.
but I did have a protein coffee this morning. I got the new cookie dough flavor of the Premier Protein. And by I got them, I mean Eric bought an entire case from Costco and tried one of them and didn't like them. So
Fair.
So now I have a whole case from Costco. Mm-hmm. They taste like cookie dough. Like, they are very sweet.
Oh.
So I didn't have the whole thing. I just put like half of it in my coffee and then I use it, I'll put like the other half tomorrow. So they're delicious, but sometimes it is a little jarring.
I might like that one then.
I'll bring one for you to try.
Yeah, because then if you also get like the Chobani cookie dough creamer and that.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
That sounds like a dessert. Ooh.
I know, doesn't it?
All right, what are you drinking?
I am also drinking water. And then this morning, I just got my usual iced caramel coffee. I'm patiently awaiting the holiday drinks to come out at both Dunkin' and Starbucks, because cookie butter comes back at Dunkin'.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like my favorite.
I think Dunkin' is the 5th, right?
I think it is. So I'm pretty
nice.
sure. So I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, and I think Starbucks does it maybe a few days after that.
Okay.
I haven't seen the dates for the release yet. They usually make some big post about it because they do the holiday cup, where people, if they come in, they get like one of those janky plastic holiday cups that the lid doesn't stay on.
I know that people really just. Well, I feel like people used to really go crazy over them.
Yeah, and then everyone cheapens their product, and so it doesn't really have the same effect as it did.
And then the Christians are mad that it doesn't have like Jesus and the manger on it, and then yeah. Anyway, that's besides the point.
So cheers.
Cheers.
This shouldn't come as a shock to anyone, but The Push is Ashley's debut novel, and as it seems to be with most authors, and it also seems to be widely successful, like most authors. I just really want to know how these people are doing it. They're just writing these novels for the first time in their lives and becoming widely successful and popular.
Well, I guess you gotta figure we're only hearing and covering the ones who are becoming wildly successful.
Yes, this is true.
But yes, it is still always shocking to me when we find out something that we've heard so much about is their debut novel.
I know. And it was a New York Times, Sunday Times, and #1 international bestseller. It has sold in more than 40 territories. And this I didn't know, it's actually in development for a limited television series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think that this is a really good book for that, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
It very much has like Sharp Objects vibes. Mm-hmm. So I think that has the potential to actually be like really, really good. And then she has a second novel, which you have read, I own, but have not read, which is The Whispers. And that has also become an international #1 bestseller. And it has also been optioned for the screen. I don't know that it's been like developed, but at least someone picked it up.
Yeah, someone bought the rights. Yeah, that one is definitely lots of characters, but definitely a super domestic drama like this one, and just has like random, very dark undertones like this one.
All right. I mean, that just seems to be her forte, I guess. So like you did last episode, and I guess from here on out, we're doing Storygraph, Who's It For? And this one is wildly inaccurate, but that's fine. We're going to roll with it.
I love this.
So Storygraph says that this book is for readers drawn to psychological thrillers that dissect the dark fracture between maternal expectation and reality, that I will say is true, themes of identity, doubt, and the terror of not being believed. Ideal if you crave blistering pace, knife-edge tension, claustrophobic domestic atmosphere, and emotional gut-punch prose over intricate plotting or world building, and you like your truths slippery.
They had me in the first half. They had me in the first half.
And then the second half is not even remotely accurate.
Pacing, tension.
I was like, what knife-edge tension is there in this book?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah. So, anyways, I will read the actual description of this book from the book. What do they call this? The book
jacket?
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. A tense, page-turning psychological drama about the making and breaking of a family, and a woman whose experience of motherhood is nothing at all like what she hoped for, and everything she feared. Blythe Connor is determined that she will be the warm, comforting mother to her new baby, Violet, that she herself never had. But in the thick of motherhood's exhausting early days, Blythe becomes convinced that something is wrong with her daughter. She doesn't behave like most children do. Or is it all in Blythe's head? Her husband, Fox, says she's imagining things. The more Fox dismisses her fears, the more Blythe begins to question her own sanity, and the more we begin to question what Blythe is telling us about her life as well. Then their son Sam is born, and with him, Blythe has the blissful connection she had always imagined with her child. Even Violet seems to love her little brother. But when life as they know it is changed in an instant, the devastating fallout forces Blythe to face the truth. The Push is a tour de force you will read in a sitting, an utterly immersive novel that will challenge everything you think you know about motherhood, about what we owe our children, and what it feels like when women are not believed.
Okay. I was going to say they really give a lot, but then I realized that Sam being born does happen pretty early on.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah. So our female main character is Blythe, and she comes from a line of women who should not have been mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So to begin her line, it is her grandmother, Etta, who suffered terribly from postpartum depression, which eventually just turned into like full-on depression. And there were moments in motherhood where she locked her daughter in a very small basement crawl space for hours and just didn't let her out. And she, there's this point where she goes and tells her, like, I was going to let you out. And Cecilia obviously knows that was not true. And she offered to make her a dress for school, and because she took the measurements incorrectly, it didn't fit. And you have this moment where she's forcibly trying to make this dress fit Cecilia.
That was a hard scene.
Yeah. So very much not remotely loving. Mm-mm. And caring. She's very much disconnected in totality from being a mother and has really no desire to have a relationship with Cecilia. Mm-hmm. And she ends up committing suicide by hanging herself from a tree in the front yard. So, and apparently it's like briefly touched on, but they live like very close to the school.
Mm-hmm. So everyone sees.
Yeah. So it's a very public way to go. Mm-hmm. And then Blythe, the mother, who is Cecilia, she never wanted children. I can only imagine why, considering the way she grew up. She accidentally gets pregnant, and she initially wanted an abortion, but the father wouldn't allow it, basically. It kind of seemed like he didn't really give her a choice. And she's not emotionally or physically abusive like Etta was to her, but she's definitely like an absent mother. Mm-hmm. And she ends up leaving the family when Blythe is only 8 years old. So there's already a lot of like generational mother trauma, which is always a fun one. So what's cool about this book is that it's actually written in a style of letters that Blythe is writing to Fox, who is now her ex-husband. And so the chapters, they're not even like chapters because they're like letters. So they're very short, very succinct. And so, but you get a lot of information in like each letter, which I thought was like every letter had a purpose, I feel like.
Yeah, it was kind of like when you think about like the chapters in like Verity, how it's like each of these chapters is around a very specific event and the details surrounding it.
Yeah. So Fox now lives with his new partner Gemma, their son Jet, and the couple's teenage daughter Violet. And she begins the story by narrating like the idyllic early days of their relationship. They were very much like head over heels for each other, and Blythe becomes very attached to Fox pretty early on. When they get married, he pretty quickly wants to begin a family, but Blythe is fairly apprehensive about that, considering she was abandoned by her own mother, and she knew how abusive her grandmother was. So, of course, she kind of has to have this inner war of, am I going to do the same thing, or can I break the cycle? And ultimately, you know, she agrees to have a child.
Once again, something that should have been discussed in the early stages of their relationship, and something that a woman should have her own view on before ever discussing with a partner, because it is very easy to be not talked into, because like he didn't really see her resistance. Like she never really told him how, because she didn't even tell him basically like what happened with her mother. But it was very easy for her to just go along with what he wanted to make him happy.
Yeah, exactly. But there's this quote that she says in one of the letters that is, I wanted to be anyone other than the mother I came from, and so I wanted a baby too. So you have to kind of wonder if it was actually her wanting a baby, or if she just wanted to change her situation, or if it was just Fox kind of pressuring her. I'm sure it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we are only getting it from her point of view. But yeah, I agree. I'm sure it was a little bit of everything, because it's like, of course she wants to prove, no one wants to admit like, oh, I wouldn't be able to do this thing that women are expected to do. So it is like a way for her to be like, no, I can prove that I can break this cycle.
During a very difficult labor, she has these intense emotions of regret, and she's basically, I either want this baby to die or I want to die. She's like, either one, I'm good with. Peace out. And those first few days at home with Violet, she gets to experience the full breadth of a colicky baby. She cries incessantly, and she causes severe anxiety in Blythe. And there's this other quote that I like that she says, I felt like the only mother in the world who wouldn't survive it. The only mother who looked down at her daughter and thought, please go away.
Oh my gosh.
So I experienced this very early on in my postpartum. There was a vivid moment, like it's actually crazy that I can still to this day, over 2 years later, no, I was sitting on the couch in my living room, and I was like in my postpartum anxiety, and I had this vivid thought of, we made a mistake. I should not have had a baby. How are we going to raise this child? What am I going to teach her? Like, there was just all these thoughts of just basically like instant regret. Like, I'm like, I fucked up our entire life. I'm like, I'm not going to be a good mom. It's going to ruin my relationship. Like, you just have, it's so common those early weeks of postpartum that you just have like these deep regrets. So like that was extremely relatable. And we had an easy baby. Like she was not colicky. She slept well. She did have like the baby witching hour, which was between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. that every newborn has. Like, it's very scary how everyone has like the exact same time frame of the baby just being kind of a terror. But other than that, like, she was good, but there was just a lot of doubt in myself and what we would actually be like as parents, and if we could actually raise a child, because you basically have a baby and you leave 2 days later with no, like, handbook.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think, like, postpartum and depression in general, the worst part about it is that it feels so isolating. It feels like you're the only person going through it. It feels like it's this horrible thing, so you can't talk to anyone about it, because then you'd be a bad mom. Then you'd be, you know. And so I feel like she really does explain that so well.
And, like, the one thing that I really, what's really great about current times is that postpartum depression is now being taken more seriously. And there are services now that new moms, or even moms, second, you know, third moms can now go to and find, you know, because that's, like, what I did. I went to a postpartum center and I did a support groups and therapy for a year. And, like, it was extremely helpful. Like, I don't know that I don't know that I'd be where I am now if I didn't have that kind of, like, support. So it's good that it's being more it's being more openly talked about now, because it used to be kind of, like, shunned, and you have to get, like, you're a mom now, you just kind of have to put yourself on the back burner and only do what's best for the child, which isn't true at all.
Right. And I think it's definitely, now the disconnect is women feeling like they can ask for help, or feeling like they should go to these places, because so many times it's like, oh, well, I might have bad feelings, but they're not that bad. Or, you know, I can get through it, blah, blah, blah. So it's like there's so much that's better about it, but obviously still obstacles.
100%. So, yeah, I think that her description about that early postpartum was very accurate. And she's a mother herself, so I'm sure that she probably had her own experiences with it. Eventually, Violet's temperament evens out, and she's sleeping regularly, and the two begin a manageable routine. But there's, like, this moment in time where during Violet's nap times, Blythe begins writing again, and when she finds a rhythm in her writing, she would put headphones in and ignore Violet's screaming and crying when she woke up if she was, like, didn't want to interrupt her flow of writing. And there would be times when she would let it go up for, like, 2 hours. That was not cool. That was hard to read, because I could never. Yeah. Like, that's just being totally, it's just fucked up. It's so fucked up. Like, I was in the grocery store last week, and there was a screaming child, and when I tell you, the, like, panic in my body, that just hearing it. So I'm like, can you imagine just sitting through that for 2 hours, even with headphones? Like, that's insane. It's insane.
Like, daily.
You know, and then obviously Fox comes home one day and, like, sees that. She's like, how long has this baby been crying? And she's just like, just like 5 minutes. It's like, girl, no. As Violet grows into her toddler era, it becomes clear that she prefers Fox over Blythe, which causes a feeling of resentment in Blythe. And as if to further prove that Violet does not connect with her mother, there's a point in the book where Violet essentially chomps down on Blythe's cheek like it's like she's a piranha. She's just like, I'm gonna take some of your skin with me and I'm gonna go. Crazy. So Blythe already knows that, like, she's not connecting with her daughter like she should, which is another thing that mothers experience. Sometimes, you know, you're kind of expected, again, as a mom, when you have a child, to immediately bond with your baby, and that does not happen a majority of the time. And sometimes it takes time for you to finally feel like that bonding moment or that connection with your child. And Blythe, like, never ever even gets that with Violet. You know, when she has Sam, it's like instantaneous. With Violet, it was very much that feeling of regret and knowing that the father was preferred over her. And you kind of get, like, this feeling of resentment, because you're like, like, granted, yes, we both made you, but, like, I birthed you. I grew you in my body. You fucked me up for 9 months.
And she's a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. So it's like, I am the one taking care of you majority of the time. But also, very early on, we're seeing that Violet is volatile with Blythe.
Yeah. And there are multiple instances where Blythe voices her concerns about Violet's attitude towards her. And Fox just, like, brushes her off and tells her that she needs to try to connect more with Violet. Which, okay, bro, because that's how it works.
I want to slap Fox for most of this book.
And her preschool teacher tells them how Violet occasionally engages in violent tendencies, to which Fox is just unconcerned, and he thinks that Violet is just acting out because she is bored at school. And Blythe, on the other hand, is not necessarily surprised by this information because she's kind of already experienced these, you know, tough tendencies of Violet. There's a time where on the playground, a young boy falls to his death from the top of a slide, and Blythe swears that she saw Violet stick her foot out and trip the young boy. But she has this, like, you know, you have to wonder, is my mind playing tricks on me? Like, did I envision that? Is my, you know, am I kind of, like, tainted because I know these certain things about my daughter? And she eventually, like, does dismiss the thought from her mind, but it does come back to her, like, every so often.
Well, it's also, like, self-preservation. Because she's like, do I want to feel like a child who's capable of that? Not only came from me and is my child, but also lives in my home.
Exactly. And, you know, she doesn't want to believe that her daughter could be capable of such violence. So speaking of violence, ironically, as I was writing out my notes, there was time where when I write Violet, I was writing violent. And I, like, can't help but wonder if her name was on purpose.
Oh.
I don't know if that's true. That's just my personal opinion.
That's one of those things that we're just going to pretend is true because I like it.
Like, literally, I just noticed one time I wrote Violet, it says violent. And I'm just like, oh, like, maybe this was intentional. And she can take that from me. If it's not, she can totally run with that idea. All right. Shortly thereafter, Blythe she begs Fox to have another child with the need to basically have another chance at motherhood. They are successful. They have a son named Sam, and her experience of birthing, breastfeeding, and caring for Sam as an infant is completely unlike her experience with Violet. It's basically the experience she wanted the first go round. And Fox calls her out for being more attentive and loving with Sam than she was or is with Violet. And, you know, you can tell from the tenor of her writing how different she feels about Sam compared to Violet. So I can understand that from, like, that's, like, maybe the one thing I'll give him from his point of view, is that it must be hard to, like, see, you know, the mother obviously choosing a favorite. And
that he knows that Violet knows. And so it's like, how hard is it to know that your daughter knows that she's being chosen second?
Yeah. And so she kind of has, like, she's very, very happy to be Sam's mom, and he's everything that she ever wanted. But of course, this wouldn't be a book without some tragedy. So one day, when Violet is 7 and Sam is still a toddler, Blythe takes the children for a walk, and while they're waiting at an intersection, Violet grabs her arm, causing her to scald her face with hot tea and letting go of the stroller, which then rolls into the intersection and is hit by a passing SUV driven by another mom and kills Sam instantly. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
horrifying.
I knew something was going to happen to Sam. I didn't know it was going to be this bad.
Well, it's like, you think that the death of the child falling off the slide is, like, so traumatic and it can't get worse than that. And then you're like, oh, it can get so much worse.
Especially because she swears that she saw Violet's hand push the stroller into the intersection. And even, and because she's like emotionally shattered and she just had this traumatic event happen, nobody believes her, because also no one's going to want to believe that a 7-year-old is capable of that. Mm-hmm. And, so you kind of come back to this theme of like what the jacket says about what it feels like to be a woman who's not believed. And I feel like it doesn't happen as much in this story, kind of her not being believed, but this is probably the biggest moment that happens. And no one wants to listen to her. Like, she tells the police, she tells Fox, and Fox is like, no, you're that did not happen. You're serious. She's basically like gaslighting her. She's like, you seriously think that like our daughter would do that? Mm-hmm. Because again, Violet to Fox is like his world.
Mm-hmm. And I think it is so complicated because when we think about women not being believed, we think about, like terms of sexual assault or something. And in those cases, it's like, what does this woman have to gain from accusing someone, whether it's someone with like higher status or power or wealth? Mm-hmm. What do they have to gain from accusing this person and not being believed? In this case, it's like she does have not something to gain, but if people believed her that it was Violet, then they wouldn't think that she's the one who made that mistake. They wouldn't think that the accident was her fault. And so it adds like so many more layers that we don't normally consider when we talk about women not being believed.
No, and especially in this kind of position, I think as a mother, you're kind of required to always think the best of your children. So it's kind of insane to believe that you have a child that's capable of doing something horrendous, but then also voicing that opinion. Mm-hmm. No one's gonna take you seriously.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we get that when she goes to that group with the other mothers, and it's like the way that they talk about their children, like, oh, they serial killed 30 people, but it was just a mistake. They're still like my precious child. And she's like, okay, what does that say about me that I don't feel that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then again, like, she never did emotionally connect with Violet ever throughout their relationship. Mm-hmm. Over the next 2 years, Blythe becomes more and more alienated from Violet and Fox. She discovers that Fox has been cheating on her with his assistant, who's Gemma, and she kicks him out of their house. They engage in a shared custody arrangement with Violet, and her time spent with Violet is generally tense and quiet. Like, is there even a mother-daughter relationship? No, not really. And so she's bored, and she just begins to spy on Fox's new partner, Gemma. And she discovers that she had Fox's son, who they named Jet. And she's able to determine that she became pregnant with Jet when the two of them were still together. So this didn't happen after, like, it happened while they were still actively married.
And, like, not like a month before they broke up, but like 10 months before they broke up.
Yeah. And so, of course, the situation itself is terrible, but there's obviously this moment where Blythe is like, he got a do-over. Like, he got another son. Like, that's so fucked up, essentially. So she dons a wig and joins the weekly support mom group that Gemma attends. And how this woman just doesn't know who she is crazy. Like, you're trying to tell me she has no idea what she looks like, even with a wig.
Okay, yes. Like, did this happen in 1990 where there was You're going to tell me that Fox isn't tagged in a single picture with Blythe?
I know. So I'm like, all right. But the two actually become, like, very, very close over the course of the year. And Blythe even says at one point, I'm like, she became, like, my best friend. So now it's just, like, the psychosis is insane. Because, you're just befriending your ex-husband's new partner without telling her that you are the ex-wife. And so you essentially should also hate her because she's been in an active relationship with your ex-husband, got pregnant while you were still actively married. But I think that she's just so deep in her trauma that she just can't configure anything. Mm-hmm. She's just kind of going with it.
The fact that she finds out that Fox was not only cheating on her, but got another woman pregnant and then now is starting a new life with that other woman, and that he was telling Gemma that basically she's not a good mother, she's an absent mother, that, you know, Violet's mother isn't really around, and she, like, all these, I would roll up to his house and you'd have to pull me off of that man.
I know. And then there's also, like, this crazy thing because she's still pretending that Sam is alive. And, like, she goes online on social media and finds, like, random pictures of someone else's son that she thinks Sam would look like if he was still alive. So there's just a lot. There's a lot happening in this specific part of the story that I was like, I cannot compute. This is not compute. I'm like that meme of, like, the woman with all the geometry above my head.
Yes!
Because I'm like, this is, like, insane.
But the crazy part is that that's why this book is so good, because in some of this stuff, I'm completely on Blythe's side. Like, I completely understand why she did it. And then she's looking up the pictures of the other child, and I'm like, no, abort mission. No.
I know. But it's like, I have to recognize that she's coming from a deep-seated trauma of losing her son, who she was the only child she connected with, and then she essentially loses her husband. And her daughter that never liked her in the first place. So, like, there's just a lot going on. So she's doing what she feels she needs to do. Who am I to judge? But eventually the jig is up, because when Fox comes to meet Gemma after one of the support meetings, he instantly recognizes her, but doesn't react in that moment. I think to kind of, her assumption is to, like, save everyone from embarrassment. But obviously Fox tells Gemma when they're alone, and it essentially ends their friendship. And she's, like, kind of upset about this because, like I said, Gemma became this, you know, friend in her life that she's never had.
And even the way she describes Gemma is like, she is such a sweet and, like, kind person. Even just the way she describes her is like, you should hate this woman. Not that, I mean, it's mostly Fox that's the problem, but I'm saying, like, you know, even knowing that, you should look at this woman and be angry, and instead she's like, wow, she's so amazing.
Yeah. Going forward, you know, there's, like, a couple, almost just, like, the ending chapters. There's a lot of, like, jumping around towards, like, the future times, and she begins to just question her recollection of Sam's death and whether or not it maybe was a freak accident. And so she's trying to just come to terms with the fact that maybe Violet didn't do it. And then she begins watching the family through their window, which, again, okay, baby girl, you do what you need to do.
Blythe, just go to therapy.
Yeah. And so, like, she sees the family, and Violet notices her outside. And she approaches the window, and Blythe is convinced that she's mouthing the words, "I pushed him," like, over and over again, and aggressively presses her hands against the glass. So rather than escalate, like, the confrontation, she goes home and essentially just, like, lets go of Fox and Violet. So she just basically alienates herself from them completely. More or less terminates her parental rights, and is just like, you know what? I'm out. Like,
yeah, that was, like, kind of the sign she needed to be like, first of all, no one's ever going to believe me. Second of all, now I know that I can trust my own memory of what I thought happened all that time ago.
Yeah. And then we have this fucking chapter that it ends on, which is so terrible of the author, but so good. So A year and a half later, since that moment that she sees Violet at the house, she receives a frantic call from Gemma, and through sobs and screams, Gemma tells her that something happened to Jet. The end.
People online are pissed about that ending.
Oh, I know. People just said, like, how they really couldn't give, like, an epilogue, like, one more chapter. Like, I need to know what she thinks what the author was trying to insinuate happened, Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously he's dead. She's got a track record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's like, is Gemma just calling Blythe because she knows that she also lost a son, or is she calling her specifically because Violet did something?
I know, and because there was a moment in the book where Blythe says to Gemma, like, did you ever get that feeling about Violet that there's something off? And Gemma, like, kind of shuts it down and doesn't really acknowledge it, but you could tell, like, from body language that, yeah, she probably does think that there's something up with her, but who is she to say? She's not her real mother, and she really can't cast dispersions on someone without really knowing.
Well, and everything that she knew about Violet was obviously from what Fox had told her, and Fox thinks that Violet is, the sweetest child to ever exist, so it would obviously take her longer to see for herself what Blythe saw from the moment Violet was born.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of Fox, his character, there's a lot of discourse about him online, because I, like, fell down, like, a Reddit rabbit hole about this book, and people are not on his side, which, like, and people say, like, he is the true villain of this story. It's not even Violet, like, it's Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of have to wonder, would things have played differently if he had actually been a supportive husband? And I had seen one interpretation that Violet learned all of her behavior from Fox, and while her demeanor was way worse than Fox's, they still utilized the same techniques to make Blythe doubt herself. So she's kind of, clearly they're both sociopaths, but Violet's is, like, way worse, because she's actually resorting to violence, where Fox isn't really doing that, but he still gaslights her. Like, there's that scene towards the end of the book where she's talking about how there was one point in time after Sam was born that all of Blythe's clothes just went missing, and they thought that it was, like, this new cleaning service that they used. But then he explains that he actually found Violet in the closet just cutting up all her mom's clothes. And he's, like, gaslighting her, and he's, like, laughing. And she's, like, pissed, but then all of a sudden, like, she starts laughing when it's not funny at all. But it just goes to show you, like, the hold that he has over her, even when he's not in her life anymore.
Well, this scene shows so much more insight, because we do get other little things, like, where Violet, I don't know how Blythe does it, because Violet is a little savage. She'd be talking to Fox, and she's like, Mom sucks, get her the fuck out of here, I hate that bitch. And Fox is like, she's your mother. Like, he could have said a million other things, and he definitely contributed to the space between them. But then, once you get this instance, because, like, then you can just kind of rationalize it as, like, he didn't know how bad it was. He didn't believe Blythe. He thought she was making it up. But the fact that there's concrete evidence that he knows that Violet did something maliciously, and he did cover it up, and he did gaslight Blythe, is like, oh, so you were complicit the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see there are some things I don't blame him for, like, everyone grieves in their own way, and like, obviously he was very upset about Sam, but he couldn't give up on Violet, and he didn't want to stop living because they still had Violet to live for. But he didn't do anything to help Blythe through that, obviously.
No, absolutely not. So then I kind of, on, like, the other side of the coin, do you think that Blythe is a likable character?
Oh, that's hard. I don't know if she's likable.
Yeah, because she does some pretty fucked up things as a
That's
mother.
the thing, like, I think that I understand a lot of the things she did. I understand a lot of her motivations. I think there are so many contributing factors, like Fox, like Gemma, like Violet, like her mother and her grandmother. But there's some things that you just can't be on her side for, like looking up the Facebook's photos of some random child, or befriending Gemma and lying to her. Like, there's a point where you can understand what she does, and then some things you're just like, girl, please take it a couple steps back. It's too much.
Yeah. You know, and then she's kind of like, again, like, we're also only getting this story from her point of view. And she's only writing about her own experiences as well. So, you know, there could be things that she's leaving out that, like, we as the reader don't know, but
100%.
You know, it's, you definitely feel for her, because she's put in this impossible situation where she basically has, like, birthed Damien from the Omen and, like, can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? And no one's going to believe her, and Fox is so obsessed with her. So what do you do when one parent is head over heels for the child and one's not? Like, that's just going to make you look even worse.
And you keep getting this question of, you know, did what she feared come true? That she wouldn't be able to connect to a child, that she wouldn't be able to be a mother. And then she has Sam, and you see that she is completely capable of it, and that it's not, you know, something wrong in her DNA because she had a shitty mother.
Yep.
That it's more than that. So I think this book has so many layers.
It does. And one of those also is, like, the theme of nature versus nurture, and whether mental illness is genetic. So did Blythe actually suffer from any mental illnesses or not? Or did she not inherit the illness? Or was she not as affected because of the nurturing she received from her neighbor, Mrs. Ellington? Because there was that moment in time where she did kind of have a caregiver. You know, she was very close with her neighbors, and Mrs. Ellington became, like, this mother figure for her that was absent. And also, Blythe for her was kind of like the daughter she never had. Especially since there was that moment in the book where she unfortunately suffers a miscarriage, and she was going to have a daughter, and she says to her she was going to be a daughter just like you are, you know. So there's just kind of this idea of, was she doomed from the day of her birth, or is this just some, you know, or is this just unfortunately the cards that she's dealt?
Well, and I think in some ways that relationship that she had with Mrs. Is it Ellington?
Ellington.
Mrs. Ellington made it worse, because she knew that not only did she have to go home at the end of the day, but she knew that mothers could be capable of being good mothers. And so it just kind of made it more apparent that she didn't have that I think it helped in that she realized it didn't have anything to do with her specifically, but it just kind of added to that feeling of, like, oh, so my life is just shitty and it could have been better, and now there's nothing I can do about it. But I did that, like, my heart broke when Mrs. Ellington was like, oh, this is my daughter, and, like, oh, it was just so sweet.
I know.
And Violet's like, she's black, she's not your mom. I was like,
I know. But then that moment was also such an interesting thing for Blythe to do, because she purposely brings Violet to see Mrs. Ellington to show her that you can hate your mom, but still have another mother figure, which essentially is Gemma. So she's like, listen, I get it, you fucking hate me, that's fine, but, like, you know, you can also have another mother figure in your life, and I'm not going to be in the way of that, because it happened to me, and I have a great relationship with this woman, so Godspeed.
And that is such another part of this book, that Blythe is so self-aware about, like, she sees through all of Violet's like power plays, and when she goes on that field trip and realizes, she sees some of Violet's vulnerability, and that pisses Violet off, and then she gets punished. And even when she's grieving and losing her husband and all of this stuff, like, Blythe knows what the fuck's going on, but she's just like, I have nothing left to live for, so I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, so many complexities to these women. The theory of inherited trauma, that we carry the scars of past generations, is explored through Blythe's mother and grandmother, who struggled in similar ways to her. How much do you think we carry forward from the experiences of the generation before us, and is it possible to break the cycle completely?
I think it's definitely possible. Definitely possible, but it's hard because Blythe was so different from her mother in that she actually tried with Violet, and she got so much resistance from her, whereas Cecilia didn't try with Blythe, and Blythe would have reciprocated if she did try.
Yeah, because there was also that moment in the book where Cecilia's like, I don't want you to try to even think being like me. She's like, don't even.
Yeah, so it's such different dynamics that I don't think... I mean, it's an excuse, right? It's an excuse to say, like, oh, well, this serial killer had an abusive home life, so that's why they're a serial killer. Oh, but all those other people who had abusive home lives and grew up to be functioning members of society with healthy families, it's so much bigger than that, and it becomes an explanation instead of like a cause and effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I do think it's personally possible to break the cycle, because that was a huge conversation that Eric and I had prior to coming to the decision to have a child. We both vehemently discussed how we don't want to parent like our parents did, or the parents before them, because they have created these shunted people who don't know how to properly express their emotions. They don't know how to properly communicate, and in return it causes, you don't realize how much pressure and how much you're rubbing off on your children until you actually become a parent yourself. And we were very cognizant of that. We're just going to be completely different. And I even feel like in the 2 years of Millie's life, we've already done so much differently than our own parents did. Because especially I see Millie, she has this wonderful close relationship with Eric. I didn't necessarily have that with my dad. So it's already we've already broken the cycle, to be honest. So it is possible, but you have to want to do it, and you have to be in the proper relationship to do it. She was with someone who was never going to be on the same level as her as a parent. So, Fox kind of made the decision for her ultimately.
Yeah, and I think that, obviously I'm not a mother.
You're a dog mom.
I sure am. But it is that whole thing of you're either going to end up exactly like your parents or the exact opposite. Yeah. And I have been so determined to be the exact opposite of my parents. And because I have a sister who's very similar to my parents, it's that nature versus nurture thing.
Yeah.
There's no such thing to me, because we both have the same life and we are completely different people,
Yeah.
So I do think, of course, you can break the cycle, but to your point, you need the support, and you need to actively do it. You are not just going to break the cycle by just existing. You are going to actively say, hey, what would my shitty mom have done in this situation? Maybe I should do something different.
Exactly. I had this whole, I spent my entire hour of therapy last week complaining about my mother and how she needs therapy. That was my entire therapy session, because the communication is bad. It's just so bad, and it's always been bad. And like I think that that's such an important part of any relationship is good communication.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I want to bring to the table for when Millie is older, just to have open, honest communication.
Well, but then it brings you to the other point of, like, in this book, that Blythe could have had the best of intentions, but her daughter was a little bit of a demon. Like, whereas her mom had Blythe, and Blythe was seemingly, like we said, we're getting it from her point of view, but was seemingly just a normal kid who wanted her mother. Violet was not just a normal kid who wanted her mother. You know what I mean? So
she was,
it's adding that layer of, like, she could have had the absolute best intentions, and nothing she could do could have changed it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Listen, like I told you, one of the million reasons I would never be a mother. What if that kid's a demon?
You would give birth to Damon from the Omen. You would.
I know. And no one would believe me.
I would believe you.
You would.
All right.
I'd be like, Heather, I wouldn't lie to you.
All right, the last thing that I have to discuss is throughout the book, she struggles with feelings of inadequacy as she fails to live up to the perfect ideal of motherhood. And you being obviously not a mom and me being a mom, I'm, again, as we do with most books, I'm sure we see them in different lights and point of view. And we've talked about the societal pressures that are on women in all aspects, not even being a mom, just in every part of that. And, you know, how society views motherhood and what it should look like, how it should feel, who should even be a mother, and, like, what kind of burden does that place on women. You know, she was so... I feel like she had these thoughts before she ultimately decided to, like, move forward with becoming pregnant, because she saw what motherhood looks like in her family, and, like, it wasn't great, but then she has Miss Ellington and how she's a mom and how great she was to her kids. And so...
And Fox's mom, too.
Exactly. Yeah, even Fox's mom. And, you know, there is that, and you do as a woman in general, I feel like we are consistently made to feel inadequate in, like, so much, but especially, like, in motherhood. And it's kind of, it actually is insane, the burden that people put on moms and how, like, they should be and how they should feel, especially when it's people who don't even have kids. Or they have kids and they're terrible human beings. You're like, you're gonna raise that piece of shit, but you're gonna, like, tell me how I should, like, raise my child. Like, you didn't do good.
Or people who are incapable of having children, like men. I think, to your point, like, every woman feels this in different ways because society tries to dictate what we should do at all times, how we should look, that we should be mothers, that it's not okay to not want to be a mother, that we should be this type of mother but not this type of mother. And the part that makes it even worse is not only is society, which is, like, obviously built on the patriarchy, trying to dictate how we're supposed to act and how we're supposed to be, but then, to get even more into it, we can't win. Because the same as any woman off the street, you can't be too skinny, you can't be too fat, you can't be too smart, you can't be too funny, you can't be too successful because it'll make men feel emasculated. Like, there is no in between. And it's the same with motherhood. Like, you can't be a working mom, but then if you're a stay-at-home mom, you have to do this. And you can't be, you know, a tablet mom, but then you can't be a holistic mom. Like, there's just, there's no way to win. And I think obviously we see that because it's talked about and publicized more in motherhood, but it is such a female concept at its core.
Yeah. And like I said in the beginning, when you leave the hospital with your firstborn, you're not given a fucking handbook on how to raise a child. You're doing it from core memories that you experienced growing up and what your, you know,
what your Facebook group is telling you.
Exactly. You know, like what social media is putting out there, like I will tell you right now, Google is your worst fucking enemy when you're in that first year of life. It's still, I mean, it's your enemy regardless, but you know, because you Google something and it sends you down fucking rabbit holes. Like, you're like, my child has a cough. Is she dying? Like, you know, it's like, it's just like insane. And everyone has an opinion. You know, there have been plenty of times where I'm in these Facebook groups for, you know, moms, and people put a simple question out there, and especially for, like, I will tell you, the craziest responses are always on the vaccination posts.
Shocker.
When people, there'll be a lot of people, they'll post anonymously, and they'll be like, I need to find a pediatrician that doesn't push vaccines or doesn't space them, or like spaces them out or whatever. And then people are just like, you have the science-backed moms who are like, you really should do X, Y, and Z. And then you have the other moms who are in agreement that are just like listing these doctors. And then you have like the moms that are like, don't give that information, they're gonna like report that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just pure chaos. Because no matter what you want to do for your child, you know, obviously I'm a firm believer in vaccines, especially with this fucking measles outbreak, like, that is happening in our country. This should not be happening. But, you know, I'm whatever her doctor thinks that she needs, I'm going to give it to her because they know better than me. And, you know, it's just,
well, and that's why the internet can be such a dark fucking place, because that person who posted anonymously should be going to their church or their neighborhood or their wherever to ask these questions instead of the internet, because
you're just asking for it.
Exactly. And like, you are going to be getting so much different information, and then it turns into an argument about and then you have the internet trolls, and it just it turns into such a dark place.
I know. And then you have like the other side of the coin where you're consistently comparing your child to other people's children and where they're at. Like, I dealt with that a lot in Millie's first year of life, because she was a little delayed with like rolling, and like she wasn't doing it. And I remember when I did like the free screening at daycare, and like I got the message from like the occupational therapist, and they were like, you know, like, we noticed that she doesn't really do this, like she could like use assistance. And my immediate thought, like my immediate reaction is just to cry, because I'm like, oh, I'm a bad mom, I'm not doing something properly, I haven't been doing enough tummy time with her, or like X, Y, and Z. And so it's so easy to immediately blame yourself. Like, the mom guilt, the immediate mom guilt with anything is fucking ridiculous. And I hate that that's a thing that I'm still dealing with. Like, it's crazy.
And the point is that it's not, you don't do that to yourself. Like, society fucking does that to mothers in general.
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, I know that like your personality in general is to feel things that way. I get that. But I mean, on top of that, it's like, yes, because in society, if a child isn't developing according to this imaginary timeline, it is the mother's fault, or it is the apple juice you're giving them, or like something ridiculous, when really it's just she had a different timeline.
Yeah. And like, she's perfectly fine. She's, you know, a very smart child, and like, so I obviously it all works out in the end. But you do have this comparison of yourself and how you're mothering your children compared to other moms and what their children are doing. And so like, it's just like an impossible standard that mothers have, and it's due to the societal pressures and the burden that's placed on us as women. And it's crazy. Crazy. And that's on motherhood. It's great. Come join the club.
No, thank you. I'm so good. I have enough internalized pressure to think about without adding motherhood on top of that. Sounds horrible. But to your point of you get a child and they just let you take it home, it always baffles me. And I remember the first time I came to your house to meet Millie, and I was like, she is so small. What is happening? I was like, I can't even be within 6 feet of her. She's too small. She's too delicate. How are you keeping this baby alive?
And then Eric bangs her head on the door jamb.
And I was like, ah!
She's fine.
Oh my God. That's like, that is something that baffles me about mothers that I'm just like so impressed by, but also terrified about. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's like, and like, especially in those early days of motherhood, there truly is no right or wrong answer to what you do. You know, because I had a lot of, oh my God, I never had anxiety, and then I had Millie, and now it's like, I'm just an anxiety bred person now. And my thing with her was, you get that fear of like, she's sleeping, but is she breathing? And, you know, and so like we did co-sleep for a little while, and I never thought that I would be a mom that would co-sleep, because I know like how unsafe that could be. And also I know how much Eric hated it, but he did it for me because he knew that I just needed to know that I needed to have her next to me. Like being next to me in the bassinet was not enough. She needed to be like within like we were like next, like I was sleeping, like she was like a part of me. So, you know, it's crazy. And then she turned out fine, and she was able to sleep on her own. Like it didn't alter her in any way, but you don't know. Like, I feel like you go in, especially as first time moms, I feel like you go into motherhood with this, you know, this concept of what you're going to do and what you're going to be as a mom. And it truly just gets all thrown out the window. Once it happens.
And it reprograms your brain. And like, I am never ever saying that anything I go through with my dogs is ever like having a child. That is not what I'm saying.
I told you though.
But
it is like having a child sometimes.
Well, but it's also like when we got Oreo, and it was the first like, you know, dog that I was fully responsible for, and like Eric and I were like, first of all, we got home and we're like, what the fuck do we do with him now? But then like every night I would cry myself to sleep for the first like 2 months because I thought that he was going to die in the middle of the night. And like, I couldn't leave the house because I'm like, oh, there's going to be a fire when I'm gone, and he's in his crate, and how will he get out? And so like, even something as simple as like having a dog, like reprograms your mind and makes that anxiety just come out of fucking nowhere. So I can't even imagine having a literal human you have to keep alive. Like, dogs are a lot more resilient. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah.
So it's like, I know that if I was a mother, it would be that times a billion. So I would not survive it. Thank you and good night.
Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is that there is no right or wrong answer to a point, but you know, just do your best. As long as your baby is happy and healthy and surviving, you're doing great. You're doing a great job.
This has turned into a parenting podcast. We're so sorry.
Is there anything that I missed that you wanted to discuss?
No, I think we got it all.
All right, shall we go to our ratings?
Let's do it.
All right, our ratings for this episode is out of pushes of a stroller.
Ugh, I love that. Okay. This is a weird one because I feel like it's definitely not what you'd expect. Like, this is not a thriller. I think psychological drama is like the perfect way to describe it. I think I'm going to go with 4 pushes of the stroller. And I know that, like, obviously, like you said, we read this in different, through different lenses and stuff. But I think what impresses me the most about this is that it is so raw, the way that she writes. It is so, like, some of the writing kind of, like, icked me out a little bit. But it is, like, so raw, and then you have these, like, levels of complexities. Like, it's not just, oh, Blythe had a shitty childhood, so now she has a shitty relationship with her daughter. Like, no, she added so many different layers and, like, intricacies on top of that. And it does bring up that question of, like, is Blythe right or wrong? Is Fox right or wrong? So I feel like that's just, like, really amazing writing, especially for her debut novel. So I rated it 4 when I first read it. The second time, when I just listened to it, I was like, oh, I don't remember why I liked this as much. But then as I started thinking about it, I'm like, oh, but that was like a masterfully written book, you know?
Mm-hmm. I also gave it 4 stars. But actually, at first, I was going to give it 3.5. But then I kind of sat with it, and I was reading other people's interpretations of it. And I was like, you know what? Like, this actually was, like, a really good book. And I feel like she does a really good job of explaining the complexities of motherhood. And I think this is the darker side of motherhood that no one talks about. And I like that she was brave enough to write a story from this kind of point of view, especially the whole not connecting with your child, because that is what is expected of us as mothers, is to immediately bond with your child. And if you don't, who's really the monster? It's you, isn't it? It's not your child. It's you. You know? So I liked the way that it was written too. I really liked I'm a short chapter girl, so I like when they're like that. And I just really liked how she did it.
And I think the fact that this is like such a popular book and such a successful book speaks to the fact that it does resonate with a lot of people, and it is a very common, even people who aren't mothers or people who don't have obviously this experience or this childhood, just the way it's written, that like, even if I haven't gone through that, I understand why Blythe feels the way that she does, or you know what I mean? So I think that's just definitely a sign of a good writer, right?
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to eventually read The Whispers. It'll get on my TBR, off my TBR cart eventually.
Yeah, but also, the more I think about it, this would be such a good limited series.
I'm actually really excited for this to eventually come out. Because it would be, like, I'm telling you, it's given Sharp Objects.
Definitely. And there's so many, I mean, this has been done so many times where it's like, no one believes the mother and she has this crazy child, but there is so many extra layers that this would have. And then you have Fox's trifling ass. Who,
like, apparently, you know, he's like that. He's like the husband of Nicole Kidman's character in Big Little Lies, where, like, he's so charming to everyone, but, like, in the house, he's a monster. So, it would just be such good storytelling.
Yeah.
I need it. Yeah.
We probably shouldn't get our hopes up. This book has been out for a while. But...
And that's all we have for you today. If you like what you heard, please make sure to follow, subscribe, and rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you listen to us on. If you have any book recommendations or questions for us, you can email us at fullybookedcafpod@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at fullybookedcafpod to see our upcoming reads. Thanks for checking us out, and remember,
if you need us, we're fully booked.
Bye.
Bye.